Continuing our top 25 transfer classes in America countdown, we are at number 15, the Tennessee Volunteers, a three-man transfer class, but a three-man transfer class we feel pretty damn good about to have ranked as high as 15th over a lot of classes that have quite a few more players just in them, quantity-wise. Riley Davis is with me tonight. Riley has Tennessee super high on his individual rankings. You ranked the Vols sixth overall. I ranked them 15th, right where they landed overall, and we can blame a couple other people from our team that aren't on this call for the fact that they didn't slot in higher, closer to where you wanted the Vols. But in this video, we will go player by player. We'll go through some expectations for each player, along with a couple other superlative-based questions. But first, Riley, let's start with this. What is one word you would use to describe this Tennessee transfer class?
It's top heavy, Greg, and that is hyphenated.
Is that one word? Is that what
It
we're
is
going with?
one word. Yeah, it's hyphenated, compound words. Whatever grammatical term you want to use. It's because the reason why I was so high on this class is Jacoby Gillespie. Simply put, he to me is I would rather have one player of his caliber than a poo-poo platter of 3 to 4 average to good players. I think he immediately elevates the ceiling and the floor of this team. And I think just, something that we talk a lot about on this channel is that concept of the year two transfer, particularly with the up transfers who are coming up from the mid major ranks into high major dumb, so to speak. And this is his second year playing for a power conference team. He didn't really miss a beat, didn't seem to have any sort of lumps along the way last year moving up to Maryland. It was a 4 seed. They had an excellent season. And if he takes that next step, the Vols are going to be in great shape. So he's the main reason why I said top heavy. Jalen Carey, I'm pretty high on as well, all things considered. And he is a heavier guy. So I think that fits into the top heavy terminology as well.
Yeah, okay. I see that. I'm gonna go with stolen. Not that they went out and poached these guys necessarily, but like I think Jacoby Gillespie may be the biggest steal of the entire transfer window this cycle, and I love him too. I'm sure we'll get into the X's and O's on that in just a moment, but it feels like the way Tennessee just sort of stumbled into Jacoby Gillespie is like not talked about nearly enough. Like they became the recipient of the way Kevin Willard departed Maryland in kind of hectic fashion. And no one's really discussing the fact that Rick Barnes went out and stole him away from him going with his coach to Villanova or potentially going to some other big places. So I think Tennessee fans are going to be very, very happy with Gillespie, but with this class in general of kind of unheralded guys that I think deserve a little more love than they are getting. All right, let's go player by player through the group. We're going to start with the big name, Jacoby Gillespie. 15 a game last year at Maryland, 5 assists to go with it. 2 steals to go with it. Efficient from everywhere, 45% from the floor, 41% from three, attempted 5.9 3-point attempts per game. This was undoubtedly one of the best guards in the Big Ten Conference. And if he had remained in the Big Ten Conference, point blank, he'd be a guy everyone would talk about as that year two transfer leap. Instead, it's a new system, a new coach, but a player that is ready to win basketball games, I think, in the SEC.
Yeah, I gave him 5 stars plus to borrow some terminology from our friends over at On Three because 5 stars just doesn't communicate how perfect of a marriage this is. I mean, he returns to his home state, and to your point, Greg, about how like Rick Barnes just stole him out from Kevin Willard. It was almost seen as a foregone conclusion as soon as he entered the portal, he was going to Tennessee. There were no lists. I don't think he took any other visits. This was done before he hit that submit with the paperwork to get into the portal. The ink, I'm assuming, was already on paper for him to play in Knoxville. And I just see why Barnes went all in on him and locked him up as soon as he did. He's an electric shot maker, super crafty off the dribble. To your point about the 3-point percentage, 40% was a career high. He also made 87 threes, which more than doubled his total the season before at Belmont. To do that in your first season going from the Missouri Valley to the Big Ten is insane to me, especially when my team witnessed firsthand how a Belmont transfer could go wrong. He was everything you could hope for and more. And Greg, I even think about like this time last year when you and Cart, I mean, maybe I was in some of these discussions as well, talking about Maryland, looking at their outlook. You could see the framework there for the roster for them to be really good. But do you remember you always came back to this point, like how is Maryland going to use Jameer Young and get better? You hammered that point home. And this is not even meant as a dunk on you because I was right there with you. I think Carter agreed as well. It seemed like this was impossible. And now part of it, I think, was Derek Queen being a lottery pick, but Gillespie was perfect alongside him. I kind of said at the top, but there seemed to be no sort of transition period for him just being awesome right away. And yeah, this feels like a move that is a little bit under the radar considering how good he is and what he did for a team that earned a 4 seed last year and made the
Yep.
Sweet 16 and hung in there with Florida for a half. And he's just largely kind of not being talked about in a league that has a lot of upheaval and a lot of turnover in the SEC. And Rick Barnes is a constant, like top 10 every year in KenPom. That's my take. He's just a little bit slept on right now. To your point, stolen, and no one's talking about it.
Yeah, the case study is already there. I'm totally with you, Riley. And maybe this is you and I coming as fans of teams that I don't know, personally, selfishly, maybe we're a little underwhelmed with the point guard transfers we got in various ways. And I don't mean that as a double dig at you because I took your old point guard and you're underwhelmed still. But like Jacoby Gillespie is a guy I would have killed for to be my team's point guard in this transfer cycle. And look, on a team, to your point, on a team with Derek Queen, lottery pick, with Julian Reese, all conference returning player, the Crab Five, as they dubbed it, right? You had Rodney Rice, who's a big time transfer ad in his own right, and the one, the only infamous Selton Miguel, who got nicknamed. Jacoby Gillespie scored in double figures in 20 of Maryland's final 22 games last year. That's absurd. And you go through the game logs in those games, 26 in a game, 22, 20, 24. Like, he was sensational. He was arguably the first option on a team with Derek Queen. And Maryland fans might fight me on that. But I truly don't believe we've seen what Gillespie is capable of when he's in a perfect system that wants him to be the shot hunter. He
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to be the floor general, and he was just so damn good. He ended up scoring anyway at Maryland. Is there a better spot on earth for him to be unleashed than in a Rick Barnes system that has made a first option look incredible year after year right now? Went from Dalton Connect to Chaz Lanier. And look, I'm not saying Gillespie is those guys. He's not the gunner that either one of them were, different positionally for sure. But I think he's just point blank the best offensive player on this team. And even if Nate Ament is awesome, I think they're going to use Gillespie as that shot hunting alpha that we've seen both Connect and Lanier have success with. Meanwhile, Barnes is such a good defensive coach that you know you're going to be good on that end, and I think that's a winning formula for sure. Only question I have on Gillespie stuff at all: do you think? Is it best for Tennessee if he is the guy playing that Lanier Connect carry the offense role? Or is it better if Nate Ament is that guy and Gillespie's back in a second, like Robin role like he was at Maryland?
Great question. I would lean Gillespie just because he's already proven. And I know Amen is a projected top five, top seven pick at worst right now, kind of depending on which mock you look at. I'm still more enticed with like Ament to me, I'm sure he will have some big scoring outputs where he takes over, but I think the sell on him is more so he's 6'10 and can handle and plays with great pace and can set the table for his teammates, go get to his spots in the mid range. I envision him being more suited in the college level at least of being that second option. And then I mean, we'll see what happens when he gets to the NBA. But yeah, to me, his game has always been more so the skill, the smoothness, and the how. I mean, I said pace already, but just he plays under control and does so at with great height and good athleticism and can pick his spots and score. And I think Gillespie, if given the green light to be that gunner, I think there's a launching pad for him to take off. It just again, looking at the year two transfers, looking at how Barnes has given his guards a lot of freedom, or his perimeter play, his top perimeter option, we should say, to go out and cook. Yeah, I think there's another level that we could see Gillespie take.
I agree. My answer is the same. I think it's best for them if he is the alpha, and you can allow Nate Ament to have some inconsistent nights here and there. I mean, look, I know everyone likes to do the Rick Barnes coached Kevin Durant thing, but also Rick Barnes has had a lot more individual success with these alphas when they're transfers, when they're
Mhm.
22-year-olds, when they're mature. I don't know that we've seen a Rick Barnes freshman be ready to carry a winning team. Obviously, Kennedy Chandler was very good, and there were some other, rookie guards that have come through and been prolific. But to me, if Ament can be the guy who's kind of the luxury, if he gives you 20, great. But Gillespie's the guy that gives you a baseline, a heartbeat every single night. That would be what's best for this team. And And Tennessee fans, I'm sorry for what I'm about to say. I think it's going to be a little bit of a breath of fresh air to watch Jacoby Gillespie in the half court run your offense instead of Zakai Ziegler. I mean, he was great, don't get me wrong, but he had some limitations, I think, that bit you at times. And Gillespie is going to feel like a much more complete offensive player in a Rick Barnes system. There's two other guys in this class, and we can be quicker on these two because I don't think we project either of them to have nearly the impact that Jacoby Gillespie does. But second on my list would be Amari Abrams, 6'4", senior shooting guard, 12 a game, 4 rebounds, 2 assists last year at Louisiana Tech. Another volume shooter, 37% from 3 on 5.5 attempts a game. I think on paper, it's Gillespie and Abram as the starting backcourt of this team. Are you with me on that? And what's your grade for Abram?
I am. I Abram deserves 2 stars based on some of the numbers, and I know that's a little nonsensical when I put this class 6, but I like Carey as well, and we'll get to him. I'm bumping up to 3 stars though because he's wearing number 77. I'm taking that aesthetic. This was a dude who, what was it? It was the 22-23 season when he was a freshman at Ole Miss for a incredibly bad Ole Miss team. They won 12 games. But I remember watching him thinking, like, this Abram dude, he's got good size, 6'4", shifty freshman, really good shot creator. And I was looking at some of the numbers to back that up. As a freshman at Ole Miss, 81st percentile in unassisted field goal makes and 88th percentile in unassisted three-point makes. Like, he was their shot creator who was given the freedom to go out and go, essentially, and create offense for them. And didn't really see that translate at Georgia Tech the next year when he transferred. I think he dealt with some health issues. Again, I just remember going into that year as an ACC guy being like, oh, watch out for Georgia Tech. They might be sneaky. And he was really bad. And last year at Louisiana Tech sort of revived his career, still only made a Conference USA honorable mention. That's a little scary for me. But the main thing is to where, like, I want to temper expectations a little bit. He just doesn't get to the free throw line at all and doesn't really get in the paint. I think he's only has attempted fewer than 40 free throws last year, and you would expect more for a dude who's 6'4". However, like you hit on, good shooter, really shifty if you watch the tape. Like, it backs up those freshman year numbers at Ole Miss. And I think I'm going to give Rick Barnes the benefit of the doubt here, though, just in terms of finding that mid-major talent that translates, whether it's been Igor Milicic last year, Chaz Lanier, go back a couple years with Tyreek Key, and he's just hit on guys of this caliber. Jordan Gainey, another one. Like, he's found diamonds in the rough, guys moving up a level, and it's largely worked out for him.
My question is it Jordan Gainey? Is it Lanier? Is it Milicic? Or is it Darlin Stone Dubar 2.0? I don't know. Because a year ago, I was sitting here screaming the praises of Darlin Stone Dubar, saying he might actually be the alpha on this team instead of Chaz Lanier. Dubar just clearly wasn't good enough. Look, it's hard. Sometimes it's playing roulette. It really is. Spin the wheel and see if it comes up good player or bad player in the transfer portal. Every single year we see, bidding wars for quote unquote can't miss mid-major up transfers that end up totally in over their heads. Aiden Mahaney, Nick Timberlake, Cade Tyson all fell victim to this. And look, Abram's not going to be asked to do that. That's the luxury here, right? They're not going into a season saying Abram's got to be the guy. He just needs to be starter level good, though. I think that's very real given what else is on this roster. And that would scare me a little because I think the guy he's most liked that they've had in recent memory is Jordan Gainey, another guy I would describe as shifty that was efficient. And, there were times you'd watch Jordan Gainey and think, man, whenever Rick Barnes wants him to be a 32 minutes a game shooting guard, he's going to be sensational. Ultimately, Rick Barnes never wanted that, and I think it was best for his team that he was kind of the microwave guy off the bench. I look at Abram and think it'd be better for Tennessee if he was that. I don't know what the options are to emerge in front of him. So for that reason, it's a 3-star ad for me. I think he's pretty high floor. Another guy that can make shots, defend, do all that. But if you come into the season expecting Abram to really be like a high-level SEC starter, that's where you lose me just a little bit. Last in this class is Jalen Carey, 6'8", entering his junior season. He was at Vanderbilt last year. 23% from 3 on just over 1 attempt a game. If that started going in more, it would make him more palatable. But 8 points and 6 rebounds a game, half a steal, half a block a game. If he plays more minutes, you could see the production trending upward. What do you make of Jalen Carey at this point in his career?
Yeah, he's another guy I'd give 3 stars. He is like super strong, physical, ready-made frame for the SEC. We've already seen him succeed at primarily a bench piece for Vanderbilt last year, still averaged 8 and 5. He's a ridiculously tough rebounder. I think that's going to be his main role for this team. He boxes out on every possession. Offensively, Mark Byington played him a lot in the dunker spot. He's got good athleticism, good hands, but because of like primarily where he was in the Vandy offense, I have some questions about the fit next to Felix Akpara. But there's a world where it's just still see the vision here with Barnes where you're just going to be throwing size at teams, whether it's the starters with like Ament, with Carey, with Akpara, and then you have Kate Phillips coming off the bench. There's just a lot of length there, and I think reminds me a little bit of some of those teams with Admiral Schofield, Grant Williams, Kyle Alexander that just had these front court players coming at you in waves. So whether he stays in that 18 to 20 minute per game role or whether he expands into a full starter minutes, I think he's going to be really productive for them. The only contrarian points I would give is he was 2-6 in power conference games last year where he played more than 24 minutes, and he only played 12 minutes in Vandy's SEC tournament loss and 15 in their tournament loss to SMC. So, excuse me, St. Mary's College. St. Mary's. I had that in my notes as SMC and then realized that sounded weird coming out. And just gave them the full government name with St. Mary's College. But played 15 minutes in their loss to St. Mary's. And yeah, that gives me a little bit of pause in just saying he's going to be a for sure stud, especially with some fit question marks next to Akpara. But you mentioned the 3-point makes. He was hit 9 of them last year. I think it was, you said 23%. I wonder if there's a leap he can make. Like Igor Milicic last year made 38 threes at a 31% clip. I'm like, if Carey can get to 25 to 30 made threes at around that efficiency, I think that'll be enough for this offense to work. But I like the motor. I like the toughness he brings. Another guy who feels like a good fit, but excuse me, a good fit culture-wise, I should say. It's just like the on-court fit that there are some question marks with.
Yep, he's a 3-star for me. I think this one's pretty simple. If you're tough, Rick Barnes can find use for you. And he's a great rebounder. He's a guy that we know is an SEC caliber rotation player at minimum. To me, you kind of hope he's off the bench in 20 minutes, very similar role to what he did at Vanderbilt, but you also hope that Rick Barnes and just what he instills in his players will maybe not unlock crazy caliber production leaps, but unlock the best version of an already really tough dude that we have seen. There are just certain coaches where they can thrive with an archetype. That's Rick Barnes here. If it was another coach, I think I would look at Carey and be like, who cares? I don't know. But with Rick Barnes, it's a perfect culture fit. So, just rotation player, 3-star ad for me. 5-star plus and 2 3-stars is enough to get them 15th on the list. And that feels pretty right to me. Let's do some superlatives to get out of here. Best player in this class at the end of the year is clearly Jacoby Gillespie.
Yep. No pushback on that at all.
Do we think first team all SEC? What's the ceiling if it goes well?
I'll go ahead and give you a bold prediction, Greg. SEC Player of the Year.
Wow. Yeah, I think there's a world where he's like an All-American this year. I really do. And that was going to be our next superlative, by the way. Bold prediction. So you just hit yours. Jacoby Gillespie is the SEC Player of the Year. I think I just have to endorse yours. I don't think there's another way because it really is Gillespie you got to make some crazy take on, and I'm just going to lock in with yours on that one. We can be twin skis for once. And then finally, let's go with one question for this transfer class. What do you got?
Can Amari Abrams show any ability to do anything other than gun threes? Yeah, I think I want to go with that one.
I'm going to stick with Gillespie. I'm just beating a dead horse on the one thing I care about in this transfer class most. But is the best case Jacoby Gillespie at Tennessee? Is it third team All-American good? Or is it National Player of the Year good? There's a world where there's a conversation about that. And okay. I think that's what Tennessee needs for this team to really take a leap forward. If you like this video, we got 14 more of these coming out every single day on the Sleepers Media YouTube channel. Go subscribe so you don't miss any of them.